So following Microsoft's Xbox Series X technical specification blowout, followed shortly after by Sony's somewhat divisive road to PS5 developer talk with system architect Mark Cerny, you've probably noticed the whole 12 T-flops versus 10 T-flops narrative that was so prevalent some weeks ago has now moved to a focus on the benefits of custom SSD technology that will ship with next-gen consoles. So, was Sony smart to gamble big on PS5's ultra-fast SSD? Let's discuss. A warm welcome back to FOXY Games UK new and existing subscribers. It is Wednesday, April 29. In today's video, so a lot of you who follow this channel will know FOXY Games UK has been at the forefront of evangelizing the potential of custom SSD technology in next-gen consoles, particularly concerning PS5's #fat pipe, and the way before developers were able to go into any real specific detail due to strict NDAs. But it wasn't until Mark Cerny himself went into a ton really of detail regarding PS5's custom Ultra SSD implementation during the infamous Road to PS5 talk. Now, a time when Microsoft seemed to really focus more on Xbox Series X's higher T-flop count, presumably because they understand more people gravitate towards the higher number when discussing power narratives. Well, it seems that focus has shifted to SSD, with even Xbox head Phil Spencer saying that the Xbox Series X CPU DLI SSD will mark the biggest generational leap since 2D to 3D, and not a mention of 12 T-flops to be found. Phil Spencer also chimed in on how SSD, with many now echoing Sony's sentiments, SSD is a game changer for Xbox SX, and its patented dynamic latency input technology has been described as revolutionary. Here's a Phil Spencer quote: "Ray tracing on console will be great, but I'm very focused on the work we're doing around dynamic latency input, DLI. In my view, the feel of games this upcoming generation would change as dramatically as since 2D to 3D given CPU upgrade, DLI memory bandwidth, and SSD. Game changer and revolutionary. Three words we've heard emanate out of Sony's camp for some time now. In fact, even the naysayers who were initially dismissive when I began talking about PS5's SSD Advantage have come to accept its extremely important role and significance that SSD has going into the next generation. People have begun to understand SSD is not just about fast or non-existent loading times. The tech is capable of so much more than people actually realize. Indeed, it's nice to see the importance of SSD in both PS5 and Xbox Series X is now starting to dawn on the masses. To the die-hard skeptics I say, you need to know SSD is one of the most significant advances in the console space since the advent of 3D gaming. Indeed, Phil Spencer is right. Do not underestimate this technology. Ultra SSD can store tens of thousands of animation routines, ultra-high textures, limitless camera angles, geometry, rays, lossless audio, and much more. All assets available in real time. SSD will not be a recommended feature next gen, it will be an absolute requirement. That antiquated standard mechanical hard drive is going to be relegated to a simple storage device. SSD will be doing all the donkey work. In fact, PS5, not totally sure about Xbox SX, but certainly PS5 games will not even run without an SSD drive. PS5's Ultra SSD tech is so fast, you could literally blink and the PS5 unit has already loaded a game into memory, ready to play. It's a two-way street too, super fast, uninterrupted gameplay during updates and installs. The reality is, using a PS5 will make PS4 feel as slow and cumbersome as PS4 made PS3 feel to use. You're probably going to want to upgrade to a 2TB SSD the minute they become available. I mean, that 825GB SSD that will ship with every PS5 will only get you so far, even if devs no longer have to duplicate data in order to speed up hard drive seat times. Now, the benefits go even further than SSD. On average, PS5 game development is around 20% to 30% faster than PS4. This is due to a massively improved library of dev tools and a comparatively easier system learning curve. Theoretically, some games should be in development for a lot less time than we're typically used to. Now, speaking of games, if you want to see revived, rebooted, remade classic PlayStation franchises next gen on PS5, Sony have got you covered big time. Can't say too much on that, but some very surprising, exciting announcements are on the horizon. No pun intended. Now, it may be that Hip Hop Gamer was onto something when he confirmed Legacy Emulation Engine, and while I cannot co-sign on what Hip Hop Gamer has said, that's not my role anyway. I've heard in addition to the huge catalogue of PS4 back-compat titles playable on PS5, some updated with next-gen features, while select legacy PlayStation software could be playable with enhancements on PS5 via emulation. I've also heard Sony Interactive Entertainment are having reliability issues with some older PlayStation software, things they need to iron out. I'm not entirely sure if that largely pertains to the difficulty in emulating PS3 hardware specifically, though I am informed this feature is unlikely to be available at launch. Also, you do well to pay little attention to those negative PS5 GPU clock frequency narratives that are knocking about the internet. Well, PS5 performs at its highest clock frequency, 2.23 GHz, in most scenarios, only dropping by a fraction when offloading to CPU and vice versa. It's actually a very smart design. But when will we find out more about the Xbox Series X and PS5, particularly its games and form factor? Well, OPM, that's the official PlayStation magazine, promises a major PS5 game showcase for its July issue until June 2nd. Now, I worked many years in print media. OPM would have to go to print at least 1 week in advance of going on sale, and I cannot imagine Sony would simply leave it up to a shelf magazine to spill the PS5 beans, considering that any potential digital Sony event that follows OPM's blowout will not have the same impact. If you read about upcoming PS5 games beforehand, that is. Now, the element of surprise would almost be non-existent for many. Now, whatever Sony Interactive Entertainment's planning really does make sense to happen in May, though murmurs of a June event also persist. Could it be Sony plan to showcase its DualSense PS5 controller functionality and feature set, as well as PS5 games, and leave the actual PS5 form factor reveal until June? We'll have to wait and see, but certainly most of the big media outlets have suggested something is definitely happening in May, and I myself have been tweeting off the back of that, May/June, regardless, it won't be long now. But don't be surprised or concerned if PS5 initially has a much slower uptake than PS4. In terms of high production, AAA quality video game development and future unit installs, PS5 will surpass everything PS4 has accomplished to date. Trust me on this, when you see those incredible games in action, everybody's going to want a PS5 or Xbox SX or both, and why not if you can afford it. So when discussing first-party versus third-party game output next-gen, I think we'll see the benefits of Sony's advantage in SSD tech coming from really PS5 exclusive development, and you could say the same for Xbox Series X's 12 T-flop advantage. I guess what I'm saying is that multi-platform games will seek parity across both platforms, so don't go expecting to see advantages or differentials from that space. Now, I admit I'm not the most patient person on the planet, and though there is no choice but to wait, at least from my perspective, I've spent much of my time, really over the last 18 months to 2 years, really trying to wrap the puzzle together, consider the unknowns and connect the dots of what I do know. And the conclusion I've come to is, I'm ready to upgrade like yesterday, completely and utterly hyped. Though what say you? Go ahead, sound off and share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of another video. But let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments. And for all your current and next gen news updates, rumour, rampant speculation, hit the like button, spread the word, and keep it locked to FOXY Games UK. Remember, relevant links where applicable can be found in this video's description. Subscribe to FOXY Games UK. Remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss content. Thumbs up if you like it here, and help us reach more like-minded gamers simply by sharing this video. Consider supporting FOXY Games UK via Patreon, and or grab yourself a FOXY Games UK branded t-shirt or hoodie available in various colours and designs. You'll find both links in the video's description. Truly appreciate the support. That concludes our time together on this Wednesday. Certainly great hanging out. Until the next video, always remember, play games, not corporations.